Good morning, Sasha. This is going to be a Military Wednesday for you. I want to talk a little bit about toxic leadership, just because I would say it's definitely something I'm dealing with again. I've dealt with it before in the Army. Right now, the client that I'm working for, he is definitely a toxic leader. How can you know if you're working for a toxic leader? It's pretty easy. Nobody wants to be around them. Nobody wants to bring a problem. There's no in you know there's no one is taking initiative because everyone keeps going back to this person and asking them, hey, is it okay if I do this? Is it okay if I do this? Because as a toxic leader, they've sort of produced this environment where if you make a mistake, they hammer you. If you make a mistake and they endorse it, like you brief them and they say, okay, this is good, and it goes up higher, and the higher says, this is a bad idea, I don't want to do it. They don't go, okay, well, I was sort of with them. Okay, I understand your perspective. I'm going to change. They just kind of sit there and twiddle their thumbs and go, yeah, that guy's all messed up. Like they don't do that. I'm sort of in an environment right now where that's happening. There's a toxic leader, and because of that, people won't take initiative because they're afraid of getting kind of smashed. When I brief, say, a deputy, and he says, "Yep, this is what we're going to do. Let's go do it." Then at 3:30 on a Friday afternoon, I get kind of nasty little emails that say, hey, this isn't what I want. This looks bad. Like, okay, well, we briefed your deputy. He said it was good. He's on the email chain. And you know what? He never comes in and says, hey, I endorse this. Okay, we'll fix it. He doesn't take any responsibility. He just basically lets them sort of pound on the contractors. And so that is, what do you do when you're in that kind of situation? Well, for me, it's hard because, I feel like, just like I talked about on Monday, right? This idea where my identity sometimes is too wrapped up in my performance. I want to do a good job. I really want to be recognized as doing a good job, and so I'm clearly not being recognized because we're doing things which is not making the client happy. And so, how do you deal with that? Like, so for one, I think this message was super timely for me because it reminds me that my performance in his eyes, right? First of all, my performance in my eyes, I'm doing everything I can, but in this person's eyes, just because like they're not happy with me, like I'm still going to try to do what they want and try to get good results, but at the same time, like that's not really on me. There's not much I can do about that. And so you just kind of keep on keeping on. In the Army there are some remedies, right? I mean, I worked for a toxic leader. Probably the worst leader I ever worked for was in Colorado Springs. And this person was, I mean, he was eventually relieved of command. um, in that environment, I basically sort of took the staff under my wing, and I actually did what's not happening in my office, where if our S1 made a mistake or S2 made a mistake, I would always try to step in. Okay, I got this. I'll fix it. Or hey, they talked to me. I thought this was a good idea. Okay, it's a bad idea. That's on me. I took a lot of the brunt, so I got yelled at a lot. But I just had to develop thick skin. Not a great environment. There are things that can be done. You can call IG, you can make, anonymous or not anonymous complaints. That's kind of a judgment call. I never did that. I just felt like, the best thing I can do is kind of help the staff out, be that buffer, and just sort of take it on the chin a bunch of times, which I did. In the end, it was, I look back on that and go, that was the worst environment that I ever had to operate in the Army. And ultimately, the system sort of prevailed. When they got deployed to Afghanistan, he was eventually relieved of command, which is a pretty significant step. So, in the end, the Army sort of self-corrected itself, but he was selected and made a battalion commander at least for a year and a half. So, Army's not perfect in the way they choose leaders, and sometimes people fit through. So, if you're working for one of those, a toxic leader, I'd love to have some conversations with you, just because there are probably small things you can do, but a lot of it is mental. You have to just kind of mentally prepare yourself for you know get it, kind of taking the hits. It's not a great environment, but in the Army, a lot of times you can't do much about it. You can't really move. Now, As a contractor, I could probably just quit my job, but I'm not a quitter. I don't like doing that. It feels really bad. What I like to do is to perform to a standard and then, make a decision at that point. So anyway, I'll talk to you later, a different Military Wednesday, about how to make sure you're not a toxic leader without really knowing it. It's kind of hard to do that without, you can be very I guess you can be very self unaware, but I think if you're sensitive and you're trying to be a good leader, I think that there are things that you can look at that'll help you, and I'll talk to you that in a different one. But anyway, have a great day. Love you. Bye.